Uh-oh.
That's probably not that.
Oh, you got her. Can you hear that?
I don't know.
Oh. Well, you have it too, though, right?
Yeah.
Or is that me? Is that me?
Well, we're trying anyway.
Ah.
Oh, yeah.
You got it?
Yeah, I think so. I think it was on there. Like I said, it's dark. Very dark. Very dark with what I'm doing. Pulling up the old chat here. And we are live. And we're going to see what's going on. Here we go. All right. Man, it's hard to see with these sunglasses on.
It is. Gee, I hope I don't lose you. I'm going to close this. There we go.
All right.
Okay.
We got 22 people, and people are commenting, so it's all good. Obviously, we're coming down here and we're talking about UFOs and space aliens, and Robert Breaker is a first-hand personal guy who has been up there and been abducted by everybody. Abducted by everybody. He's been probed and all this stuff. So
I've been abducted too. Remember I told you I was abducted?
Oh yeah. Well, who hasn't? Who hasn't?
I ended up in Glencoe.
Oh yeah.
I have proof, Max.
Yeah, with your what do you call it? Cold chill or something like that?
No, can you see that? Can you see it?
So this is my World War I helmet. I'm a German army. No.
I got my Bible from the Bible box.
Good. We all have our stuff on.
We do.
Okay.
All right, that's perfect. That's perfect. All right, so tonight, Greasel, it's Max. I have to do that. Anyways, tonight we are talking about UFOs, aliens, spiritual encounters, and things that are generally evil. I think across the board, you can count ghosts in that too. It's the same sort of spiritual encounter that people have, and a lot of the alien stuff comes down to atheism. It comes down to we don't accept God at all. There must be an alien out there somewhere. Did it? The guys who watch the videos about what is it? The History Channel. Ancient aliens.
Ancient
aliens. With the weird
aliens.
hair. Yeah.
Yeah. Ancient aliens. Yeah, you come back with ancient aliens. Ancient aliens must have did this because we can't figure out how they did it. Must be aliens. It's like, must be aliens. What craziness that is out there. And you know, I was a big believer in this stuff. Eric von Daniken, who has been proven to be a charlatan, is one of the biggest guys out there. There's a couple of others. Huh?
I can't see.
Oh, I can't see either. Isn't that funny? I'm trying to produce something. I can't see the screen. It's funny. That's how we are. That's how we roll, man. That's how we roll.
Okay.
But anyways,
we are.
You know,
something went wrong.
I don't know what Robert wants to talk about here. I want to talk about the fact that, you know, when I was in the New Age, I think you call it that, New Age sort of system, and was reading about that, I had these experiences myself. And
where'd you go?
What are you doing with your glasses? Anyways, I had these experiences myself. And after, you know, I actually left it before I came to Christ. but it was a regular occurrence that these things would happen. And it's not something tangible. It's like it's you're inviting demons into your life. It's all spiritual. Everything having to do with everything there is spiritual. So
Well, there's a good place to start right there. The Bible says in 1 Thessalonians 5:29, prove all things, hold fast that which is good. And then John 7:24b says, judge righteous judgment. So there's a lot of people out there that recognize that there are UFOs. And this is a taboo subject for many people. Lost people, if you start talking about this, you got your little tinfoil hat, you're a crazy weirdo. Even with a lot of Christians, you say, yeah, I believe there's a thing called UFOs. And they're like, chalkboard, you know. No, we can't talk about that. But, you know, we can talk about it if we judge it from the scriptures.
Exactly.
In the Bible, does it talk about UFOs? In the Bible, is there such a thing as UFO? Let's put on our Bible glasses and look at it through the scriptures to find out what are these. And so the first question, I guess, for all three of us is, do you believe that there are such a thing as UFOs and aliens? I personally do. How about you, Valerie?
Aliens? I believe that they're demons.
Okay, I was going to get to that, but yes or no, do you believe? And how about you, Max? Do you believe that they exist?
well, yeah, but you call them aliens.
Okay. So the next question would be, what are they? Well, they're a caravan coming up through Mexico. No, that's a different kind of alien. Sorry, my bad. No, I believe, like you just said, they have to do with fallen angels and demonic spirits, or what the Bible calls devils. And I think that's what they are. So I don't think there's any way to say there's no such thing as UFOs. There are. They've been seen so many times by so many eyewitnesses that you cannot dismiss it. I mean, the Bible says out of the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, that you've got 5,000, 6,000, you know, all these different, all over the world, people saying that they've seen UFOs. We saw one time. My wife and I were driving to Mobile, and we saw something in the sky do this right here. It went down this way, and it went straight up that way at a 90-degree angle. Now, I don't know any vehicle that can fly that can do a 90-degree angle like that. So we looked at each other, we said, UFO. And what is a UFO? What does UFO stand for? Unidentified flying object. To this day, I cannot identify what that was, and my wife either. But whatever it was, I think these things exist, and they do have to do with demonic spirits and devils and things like that. And I'd like to get into that too.
Well, you had all sorts of books you want to bring up.
Yeah. So this is a subject that I've studied for many years. Okay, let me just give you some personal testimony on this. I knew a guy. All right, you hear about the Men in Black? I knew a guy that used to work as one of the Men in Black, and he's a Christian now, and he's a pastor. And I don't want to give away too much about the fella, but he was in one of the 5 main forces. You know, you got the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, and then the other one that nobody talks about. Well, he was in that one. And he went around, that was his job, looking for UFOs. And I spent a couple weeks with this guy and talked with him and asked him questions. And he told me a lot of things that I didn't know. And he's a very interesting guy. Now, he was in the 60s, I believe it was, that he did that. Now, his mom was saved, and his mom used to get Ruckman's stuff. You know, I went to Ruckman's Bible Institute, so a lot of people I know, they went to Ruckman's Bible School or whatever. So his mom used to go to Ruckman's. I don't think she went to the school, but she used to buy Ruckman's books and tapes and commentaries and listen to them. And years ago, Ruckman made a 4-volume set of the old cassette tapes. Remember when you used to listen to cassette tapes? And the 4-volume set was UFOs in the Bible. And so this woman, this guy's mom, bought that, and she was listening to it. And he came home from the branch of government that he was in, and he saw his mom listen to this, and she goes, "What? You're not supposed to know about this stuff." So he listened to that. He says, "How does this pastor down in Pensacola, Florida, know what I'm doing? This is all top secret. Nobody's supposed to know this." And what he did is he looked at UFOs through the Bible. And so he explained from the Bible what they are. And so this guy, he quit that, and he went down to the Pensacola Bible Institute, went to school there, and he came out, graduated from there and everything else. So I spent time with him, and I wish I had time to tell you everything that he told me. This could be easily a 10-hour thing. So we're going to try to whittle it down as much as we can. But he learned about these things. He saw these things through his eyes first, and then through the eyes of the Bible. It helped him understand. So these things really are demonic, evil, wicked things. So what are they? Where do they come from? Well, one of the things, too, I wanted to say was this is a book that Ruckman wrote years ago called Black is Beautiful. And I don't, I'm not praising the guy Ruckman or whatever, but it is interesting that Ruckman, what this book is about is UFOs. So if you want to learn more and you like to read Ruckman, which is very hard, he's so hard to read sometimes, you can get that book. And what that book is he got these books here. There was a set of 4 of these. This is called Matrix by Vladimir Valerian. And back in the 1990s, these came out. And these are supposedly documents that were leaked out by people that work in these underground bases. The guy who wrote this signed my copy, to Robert, Best Wishes, Vladimir Valerian. And I didn't have enough money in the 1990s to get all 4 volumes. And so all I got was volume 4, the one that talked about UFOs. And these are all
you're
documents.
Telling me about underground bases.
All right, the underground bases, they're called by the military DUMBs, D-U-M-B. Deep underground military bases. I always think that's so funny, the DUMBs. And there are all over America, all over Russia, all over other places, underground bases that the military has set up. And what are these? Well, if you want to know more about that, I would say go to a guy named Phil Schneider. And on YouTube, you can still find some of Phil Schneider. Phil Schneider was a geologist, and he worked in the underground bases. And as they built the tunnels and everything, he would go down. And he saw things. He saw a lot of things. And in these underground bases, there are tall, giant-like creatures that are all white with blonde hair. They wear suits, and they wear different things. And guess what they sound like? Like they would be the fallen angels. And so he's got lots of interesting stuff on that. This guy, Phil Schneider, he's pretty cool. I mean, so like I said, I don't want to go too deep into this kind of stuff because you don't want people to think you're crazy, but at the same time, all right, prove all things, hold fast that which is good. Amen. So there is some truth to this, and the truth is from the Bible what these are. So this guy I was telling you about, he explained it to me that this all ties in with the fallen angels. All right, and we see in the book of Genesis chapter 6, the sons of God mated with the daughters of men, and they produced giants. All right, so and these fallen angels, how did they fall? All right, I don't want to get too into the detail on how an angel falls. But, some people have theorized, and that's what this is a theory. A lot of what we're talking about today is not doctrine. This is not something that if you don't believe this, you're not saved kind of garbage. Exactly. This is just fun. This is having fun tonight talking about this subject. Like Paul said, he said, we see through a glass darkly. I don't think we'll ever clearly understand this, but what we can see, we see through the Word of God, try to explain what this stuff is. But what is a fallen angel? Well, the angel somehow had to fall, and somehow he came and he manipulated the DNA, or else he literally mated with the daughters of men. I'm not going to get into that, but somehow he was interested in the seed of man, that he could mix his seed with the seed of man. And that's what they do a lot of times in these underground bases. People that have been down there have been eyewitnesses. They see that they're mixing DNA, this genetic labs, and making weird
Can
hybrid
I interrupt
creatures.
For a second,
sure.
Robert? Have you seen the big cow? Have you seen the big cow that they had on the news?
Yeah, I saw that. It's
so
6 foot tall cow.
Exactly.
That today they're doing a lot of DNA manipulation.
Yep.
But now it's out in the open. And before it was always hidden and you weren't supposed to know about it.
Yeah.
And that's what's interesting about a lot of the stuff that we're going to talk about today. If we were in 1990, I'd be scared to death to talk about this. I mean, they would come into people's house in the middle of the night and kill them or take them away for talking about, because this was all top secret. But now it's all out in the open. With the internet, I mean, it's just everywhere. And they just don't care that people know. I think it's because their agenda is a part of this. And the end time agenda will be the alien deception. And maybe we'll get into that a little later as well. So he was telling me about...
I think that's the very basic understanding is what everybody is putting forward. Alex Jones, David Icke, and these people are like, well, they're going to put forward an alien takeover, and that's how they're going to take over the world. And I don't believe that anymore because those people are talking about it. I'm like, no.
Well, you know what I question, Max and Robert, is this ancestry thing. You're supposed to send your DNA in so that you supposedly know where you come from.
Right.
What are they doing with that DNA?
That's a good question.
Like,
I did
scary.
that because I wanted to see where I came from, and it's only spit. You spit in a jar.
I know,
but
still.
from your spit, they can get your DNA. That's
My
kind of
friend,
scary. Kind of scary.
Did a video on that with his children where he took a trip, and I don't know why he was doing it, but he came across a Freemason open. The Freemason open carnival. Come on. And all they wanted was to get your kids' blood. And it was a DNA thing.
Mm.
And he put that, it's on the internet.
So if we see a big Robert coming down the street,
yeah. Well, I mean, it's going to take at least 20 years for him to clone me. So I'm not care. I don't care. We probably won't even be here, so it's no big deal to me. But
I can only imagine it genetically cloned me. That much more of a jerk. I don't know if I can handle that.
Yeah, one of me is enough in this world. So, but anyway, he's explaining about the fallen angels, and what is a fallen angel? Well, it's somebody, or it's an angel that has fallen, and how it falls. You know, some people theorize, well, it drank blood, and we have all these mythological stories about vampires and things like that. Well, the Bible says the life of the flesh is in the blood, so possibly, maybe if he drank, then it made him mortal or whatever. I remember Jesus said in Psalms, I'd written it down here somewhere. Psalms 82? Yeah, Psalms 82, verse 6 and 7. He says, you say that you are gods, but you shall die as men. So these angels somehow became mortal to where they could die. Well, if the life of the flesh is in the blood, what do they want to do? They want to live as long as they can. So they're working on manipulating DNA to where they can live for hundreds, maybe thousands of years. So when these angels fell, I think that's what they're trying to do, extend their lifespan. So they're doing all these genetic tests in order to do something like that.
Somebody, a Rich G, actually yesterday commented that he believes the pyramids were built by the fallen angels.
Okay, yeah, I think so. I think the fallen angels, okay, if they're fallen angels, they would have been around with God before, the creation and everything. So they are super highly intelligent beings. So they would have the knowledge how to do stuff like that. Now, what was their offspring? Their offspring were giants. Now, there's the brawn. So you have the brains and the brawn. The giants, two of them could pick up one of those things and put it right there on the pyramid. So I can see possibly the fallen angels having the smarts and the mathematics to do all that, but then they would use their children, their kids, to the brawn to lift those. Because today people say, well, nobody knows how they would lift those huge, and it's like... Put two giants together that are 12 foot tall, they could lift it up like that and put it in place. You know what I'm saying?
I have a theory.
Sure.
I have a theory on how they got the stone so perfect and put together. Today we use forms. So it just makes me wonder if maybe they were able to melt rock and form them in place and then move them that way.
You go back to that's Puna Punka or something? What is it?
The round
Machu
stones?
Picchu? You're talking about Machu Picchu? No, not Machu Picchu.
Puma Punku.
Yeah.
How did that happen? Puma Punku. And with a lot of that stuff, obviously the pyramids and things, no one can figure out how they can lift 10-ton stones.
Right.
But if people are twice as big back then, and they have all this erosion on them that looks like they were underwater, even though they were in a desert, it looks like they were built before the flood.
What was the flood for? To kill that offspring.
Yeah.
And so it makes sense. Now, some people hypothesize lasers, I like what is it in the book of Ecclesiastes, David's son, Solomon says. He says, there's nothing new under the sun. And if you think about that, all this technology we have today, it's not new. It was all around back before the flood. And it's still, I think that the fallen angels have an influence on this world. And they're the ones that are making things like, how does this work? Your cell phone. It's just like, I would never have thought to make something like that. And yet we've got those things in our hands. So I think the fallen angels, a lot of people ask, what is a demon? And some people theorize a demon is the disemboweled spirit of a giant, because its father was a spirit and its mother was a body, soul, and a spirit. And you put them together, what are you going to get? You're going to get a spirit that has a body but no soul. So when the body dies, the soul's just wandering the earth looking for another body. That kind of makes sense. And if that's the case, well, then that's what your demons would be. But I guess they could also be fallen angels that did die, and now they no longer have a body, so they're a spirit. So I see UFOs. I think that's the technology of the fallen angels that they use to fly around. I'm not the only Christian that has ever said that. This isn't, ooh, crazy breaker. A lot of Christians think this. Years ago, a guy named Dave Hunt wrote The Archon Conspiracy. I showed you Ruckman's book. David Icke, which I don't think he's a Christian, but
no, he's not.
I hope he becomes one eventually, because he's starting to see some things that if he would just believe the Bible. Stephen Quayle, though, I believe Stephen Quayle's a Christian. He has a lot of good stuff about this and other things. And there's a lot of other guys. I wish I could think of other Christians that believe that can explain what these are. And like I say, you've got to use the Bible to explain all this. So this guy that I'm telling you about, that I'm not going to mention, he told me a lot of stories about things that he's seen. He's actually been underground and seen some things, and he's seen a lot of stuff. And he was always of the persuasion that these things are demonic in nature. Now, this is a good time for you, Max, to explain what you were saying before we started about how witchcraft is always tied into this, and how whenever you see these, it's like you started out with New Age. This is very New Age. What is New Age? It's demons getting their doctrines together. And so I think this all ties in with witchcraft and everything else. What were you saying about that in the beginning?
Yes, and I don't remember the exact thing that I said, but when I was young, I'm an old man now, but in my 19 to 20, 30-ish age, you know, I had a friend who ran a New Age bookstore. And I'm curious about all these things. I'm curious about why are these religious buildings around here? Why is all of this? Why is all of that? And you get into this and you get into the New Age thing. Let me tell you, witchcraft works, but it kills you too at the same time. And you get into this stuff and you try it out, and I'm like, oh, well, the book says to do this and do that. Invite the spirits in and all this stuff, but it kills you. All right, it kills you. And all of these people that are doing a lot of like high technology things, the Facebook guy, Bill Gates, they're all possessed. They are all possessed, and you can tell it just by looking at the guys. I don't need Oppenheimer, the guy who did the atom bomb. I mean, doing witchcraft seances, getting knowledge from demonic spirits. What it is. It's what it is. And that's where UFOs and a lot of this stuff comes from. And people, you know, the big thing is that people who have these experiences where they are taken by UFOs, or they feel like they've been taken by UFOs, they're always into witchcraft. All of them.
That Jack Parsons guy, that's a good example as well.
Yeah.
You'd mentioned him earlier.
And I had an experience when I was young, maybe like 19 or something like that. And I'd have regular out-of-body experiences. I would have regular things where I'd wake up and not be able to move and stuff like that. And then I had an experience where I had a 45 next to my bed, because I lived in North Minneapolis, bad town. Anyways, I have my 45 there, and I wake up and I can't move, and I could just barely look up and see what's going on. I'm completely paralyzed. And there is the image of basically what you would call a gray alien. Evil spirit. It's what it was. And as soon as I got out of that whole thing, that all went away. Because you're not inviting that stuff into your life anymore.
Right. Amen. And what would the grays be for? You know, a lot of people say, oh, I don't believe the grays exist. Well, I do believe they exist, but what would they be for? Well, if you're a demonic spirit, you're a spirit, and you need a body. So you would be, by DNA manipulation, making yourself some sort of a body that you can then inhabit, and then you're now into the physical world, and you can do things in the physical world. And oftentimes they do that. You know, this is what your grays look like and everything. It is funny, they have 4 fingers instead of 5. So they're so angels are higher than men, But when they messed up with men, now they're devolving, it almost seems like. And it's so funny, people that believe in aliens, they don't believe in the Bible, they believe in evolution. But even you study aliens, they're devolved creatures. They're not evolved.
Well,
So
I know somebody. I know someone that told me that God doesn't exist. They think that the aliens are using us as pets.
Oh yeah, I hear that a lot. I mean, that's an Eric von Däniken thing, and Planet X, right?
Yeah.
Planet X.
Nibiru.
The Planet X came down here to seed humans to be slaves for them, so they could harvest gold.
Stargate, the movie. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a movie. It's a fantasy, and it's like, why do people not understand that? It's a fantasy by a guy. Where does his legacy go?
Well,
it
it's also a good way to make an excuse for the actual prophecies that do happen here, as far as earthquakes and volcanoes, and they say, it's Nibiru, the ocean's moving, the planets shifting, all that kind of stuff.
We love prophecies around here.
Right, and it's wonderful. So you've got these creatures that are out in the world, and they're actually communing with the world. All your elite people, you know, the elite government officials and things, they say that they speak with these creatures. They call them the Archons, they call them the Pleiades, they call them, there's names for them. I forget what all the names are. And in this book I was telling you, these are supposedly documents that someone has gotten from the government. And it's interesting how these aliens, and I don't talk to them, and, you know, aliens, demons, whenever these people do talk to them, guess what all they want to talk about? You start talking to these demonic spirits that they think are aliens, and they always say, well, the Bible's wrong, and Jesus wasn't the Christ, and you guys are wrong with your religion of salvation. And it's like all they want to do is down God in the Bible and diss God in the Bible. Just further proof that they are demonic. That's what I think. Right?
From what I've heard in most interviews is that the people that have these encounters will say that they created humans and they're trying to make you better.
Right. And they want to be worshipped as God. And isn't that what a demon wants? He wants to worship rather than worshiping God. So, I mean, I could get into reading some of this, but I don't think I will. But it's interesting. It's very revealing that there's a guy that supposedly talked with these, and they interview him, and he said they appeared to him, and they said that that the man who is supposed to be Jesus is really not the true Jesus. The real Jesus is this other guy, and his name is Jesus Sanada. That sounds like Satan, right? Santana, Carlos Santana. Sanada sounds like Satan. And that this fake Jesus is the real Jesus, and that everyone's worshiping the wrong Jesus. They need to worship this other Jesus. And it's like, oh, that sounds like what the devil would say if he showed up to you. He wants you to worship him. No wonder he keeps attacking God and the Bible and everything else. So it is very interesting. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff you can get into on this. But it's very easy to explain if you look at the Bible and say, oh, okay, these creatures, and a lot of people say, well, they're not from outer space, they're from below our feet. And that's another thing. We've got the underground bases. I was going to tell you this story too. When I was with this fellow that was now a pastor that used to work for the black men or whatever, he told me, he says, you need to get a meeting with this guy in New Mexico. He's a pastor, but he only pastors for 2 weeks. He pastors for 2 weeks and he's gone for 2 weeks. I said, well, where does he go? He says he works in one of these underground bases. I said, oh. So he gave me his phone number, and he says, there's the phone, go call him. So I dialed the phone number of this pastor trying to get a meeting to go preach for him. This would have been way back in 1999 or 98, somewhere back there. And I dial it up and the phone rings. Now, I have never in my life heard this message before. It goes, doo-doo-doo. The United States government did not permit the parties, these two parties, to talk to each other. This call is canceled. Click. Like, somebody knew who he was and who he was, and they knew where they weren't supposed to talk. So they wouldn't even allow the connection of the phone. I was like, wow. So this guy, he goes and works in these underground bases. He gets on Janet Airlines. If you don't know what that is, you can go out to Vegas in the airport, and every so often there's an airplane with a big red stripe. It's called Janet. Just another non-something transport, non-existent transport. That's what Janet stands for. So it doesn't exist. And when you start studying this, in the 70s, 80s, 90s, it's always the official government answer is does not exist. But now with the internet, everyone knows they exist. You can't deny your eyes. So many people have seen it. So now that we can finally get past this does not exist, now we know they exist. What are they? They're demonic. They're evil. And they're teaching people in underground bases how to do evil things. So that was a very interesting phone call for me. There's a lot of other things I could go into on that, but I'm going to stop there. But that was odd. So again, I would say, look at this guy named Phil Schneider, and it should still be on YouTube where he's given an interview, and he talks about what he did in these underground bases, and it's pretty incredible what goes on in those places, like Area 51. And I have a friend that actually went to Area 51, and to this day, he will not talk about it. He signed some kind of a paper with the government in which he has a non-disclosure agreement. He can never say what he saw there. And I want to grab him and go, tell me what you saw of it. Nope, cannot do it. So these places are real. Everyone says, conspiracy theory, there's no Area 51. Yeah, there is. And you know what's weird? Right over here, and there's a highway close by. That's Highway 666. How odd that number just happens to be so close. So these things are real. They do exist. They do come out of the earth. And the Bible says in Revelation that there's some weird stuff coming out of the bottomless pit in Revelation chapter 9. And remember when they open the bottomless pit, which is under the earth, out come these weird-looking, locust-looking creatures with the faces of women or men and the hair of women and stingers like a scorpion. That is not something that you see in nature. That's something that has somehow been manipulated by DNA or something. So I see these as underground aliens, not outer space aliens.
That whole thing comes back to Richard Byrd, then, who apparently flew through the middle of the earth.
Oh, I wanted you to bring that up. I'm so glad you did. I can mark that off now. My grandmother was listening to the radio in the 1960s. I think it was the late 60s. It might have been 70s when Admiral Richard Byrd did what he did. And she was listening on the radio when he flew up and then, went into the heart of the earth and came back out. And that's another thing that we could talk about. There's a book out there called The Hollow Earth. Mm-hmm. If you've never got this book, man, it's amazing.
Hollow Earth is a big deal, man. That's almost as big as the flat Earth one.
And it's something nowadays they only talk about the flat Earth, and I always tell people, yeah, but what about the hollow Earth? If it's flat, it couldn't be hollow. But there are stories and stories of people that have actually gone up into the North Pole or the South Pole, and supposedly there's an opening, and they actually went inside of the Earth. And there were some people that went there and stayed there for 11 years and said it was inhabited by giants. You say, oh, that's crazy. Well, there were giants in the world before the flood. So it doesn't sound too far-fetched if they did exist according to the Bible.
Here's the thing, that I brought up before is that people who believe in aliens and UFOs being demonic spirits, they are cast out of people who believe in ufology, if you can call that a term, because they are scientific people who don't believe in God and obviously there's some other explanation other than God did it. And when it lines up with the Bible, those people are like, get out of here.
Exactly.
bunch of lunatics.
Exactly. So you've got you've got all this stuff, and it seems to line up with the Bible as you begin studying it. And it's very, there's so many more things that I got. It's all scrambled in there, so I'm trying to figure this out. But how about we look at real quick, and then we'll get back to Admiral Byrd. Well, now, let me just say this real quick about Admiral Byrd. A lot of people don't know about New Schwabenland. Have you ever heard of New Schwabenland? New Schwabenland is down in Antarctica. And Hitler sent a bunch of, I think there's 5,000 people that were unaccounted for at the end of the World War II. And he sent a bunch of submarines and other things down there. And there's actually bases that were founded in Antarctica, underground bases by Hitler. And that area was called New Schwabenland. And if you look at old globes, and you can see it, it says New Schwabenland. Every globe today that they put out, they don't write that on there. It's like they don't want you to know that existed. About a year ago, all the nations of the world, many of the leaders went down to Antarctica and had a meeting. Why would you go to the coldest place on earth where people freeze to death and have a meeting? What's going on down there? Well, Admiral Richard Byrd was sent down there to see what was going on, and he was literally chased off by what he called UFOs. And there were American ships that went down there, and they were decimated by what they said were UFOs with lasers and everything else. and they hightailed it out there, said whatever they're doing down there, they can have it. You might say, well, that's dumb. I don't believe that. That's historical evidence, fact. And there's lots of YouTube videos about that. It sounds far-fetched, doesn't it?
How do you know they're not how do you know they're not military craft though?
Exactly. And that's what here's where it all starts coming together. So the devil and his fallen angels and everything, they're living under the earth. And we have all these stories throughout history of, oh, don't go in the cave. That's where the monsters are. Well, that makes sense if that's where all the fallen angels and everything and the giants lived and everything else. So they're all underground in these underground things. Now, in 1947, 48, 46, all that's when they begin the testing of the nuclear bombs. And now they're shaking the world with these nuclear, and that's when these things started coming out. And supposedly, I don't know if you've ever been to the museum in Roswell, New Mexico, the UFO museum. There's a lot of neat information there.
I was there when I was 18.
It was cool, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But supposedly, and I say supposedly because, look, I'm not teaching this as doctrine. I'm not telling you I believe this. But I'm telling you, there's a lot of evidence that supports it, so look into it. But always judge it according to the Bible. And I see that, according to the Bible, this can be true if it's all a spiritual thing, if it's all devils and demons. But supposedly, once those atom bombs started going up, all these things underground said, maybe it's time we went up there to see what they're doing. And supposedly, the Nazis made a concordance with these fallen angels or these aliens or whatever you want to call them, and they began to get technology from these aliens. And this guy tells me, the guy that I told you that I met, that this is what happened. And they made these agreements with these underground creatures, call them fallen angels, call them whatever you want. And so the governments of the world learned and got certain technology from them. And in the 1947 or 48 was the Roswell incident, right after they started setting off nuclear bombs. And then America started getting all these out of nowhere technologies that they never had before. And this man in black guy told me, he said, they are about 30 to 40 years ahead in their technology. And we're never going to catch up with them. They're so far ahead of us. I mean, this right here is amazing, a little phone. And that's 40-year-old technology. It's like,
well, I think the majority of it is, or maybe all of it, 100% of it is all military.
Well, yeah.
Everything we have, like there's a phrase, from tactical to practical, and that's everything that we have.
Amen.
Phones, tracking devices, computers.
Exactly. And that all ties in. This is what's scary. Have you seen this new thing called the Portal? Is it Google or is it Amazon? The Portal. Have you seen that?
No.
It's a little TV screen that you put in your house. Wherever you go, it follows you and moves and zooms in on you.
Isn't that like Alexis or something?
It's like Alexis, but it's a TV, but it's like spying on you. And you're supposed to hook it up to a family member so you can always see what they're doing and they always see what you're doing. But imagine what someone else is seeing watching you. I wouldn't put something like that in my house. But I do see these.
Where do you get undressed?
Exactly. Yeah, you don't put it in your bedroom.
Black tape over our cameras, don't we?
Say that again? Oh, I always do. When we're not on, I put tape over the camera and everything. Because they're spying on you. But they don't need that to spy on you. The demons know what you're doing. But now it's mixing this spiritual world with the physical world. That's what the devil's goal is, to mix those two.
It's starting.
And I think once the rapture takes place, those that are left behind, their eyes are going to change and they're going to see the spirit world. All those demons and fallen angels that they couldn't see before, they're going to be like, oh my goodness. Kind of like the Pokemon thing. Remember that Pokemon Go?
Oh, they still play that.
You play that in your phone, and you're going around looking on these ley lines. It just happens to be on ley lines, and you're looking for little demons.
Yeah.
I mean, that is connecting the physical with the spiritual.
Crossing the street, they're not even looking at the cars.
They're and people have died playing that.
And they're running over there, and at work, it's crazy. Yeah. We have a no cell phone policy, and people are going up here. Oh, I'm just catching my little demons. I'm going.
Do they say that?
Knock yourself out.
Yeah, I think they do call them demons in Pokemon.
Yeah, little demons. Yeah, I don't know.
Wow. So you hit the nail on the head, though. The military wants this because what's the end goal of Satan? It's a one world government. It's police. It's a police state. So the governments combine with the military to get the technology to take over the world, and this is how Satan does it. Sorry, go ahead.
And even the tracking system, the tracking system, it's all tactical.
It's all there.
Yeah.
So in the Bible, we can plainly see what these things are and what their agenda is. Now, are there UFOs in the Bible? Yes. And I know Valerie wanted to give one. So I want to give one too. And then I want Valerie to tell us what she was going to say. You want to go first? Or you want me to?
Well, I might be a while. So
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to be short. I'll be short. So let me go first if you're going to be a while. The first thing I wanted to show you is, are there UFOs in the Bible? There was a guy over at Ruckman's that came out of there.
There's a guy called Ezekiel. He had some kind of a wheel in a wheel.
That's where she's going. I'm going to go to Zechariah.
Right.
There was a guy that graduated from Bible school where I went, and he was a great evangelist. And everywhere he went, he preached on UFOs in the Bible. He drew crowds. I mean, because so many people were like, wow, I want to see that. And, you know, it was interesting. He drew while he spoke, you know.
So where are they? Where are they, Robert?
All right, the first, well, you're going to go to 1, but I'm going to show you Zechariah chapter 5, verse 1 through 11. And this will tie this together so nicely because you mentioned, you know, the military and how there's underground bases. So let me read to you Zechariah. And Zechariah saw something, and what he saw sounds like some sort of UFO. And the Bible tells us that it's wicked. It's wickedness. So it all ties in together with what we're saying, that if there are UFOs, and I believe that they are wicked and they're evil, and they have to do with spiritual wickedness, which would be demonic spirits and things like that.
I'm sorry, Robert. Where were you? Zechariah 1?
All right. I'm going to read Zechariah chapter 5, verse 1 through 11. This is Zechariah, and he saw this in a vision. It says, Then I turned and lifted up mine eyes and looked, and behold, a flying roll. And he said to me, What seest thou? And I answered, I see a flying roll. Well, it's some sort of a roll flying through the air. Guess what? That's a UFO, an unidentified flying object. The length thereof is 20 cubits, and the breadth thereof 10 cubits. Now, I haven't looked up to see how big that is. But verse 3 says, Then said he unto me, This is the curse that goeth forth over the face of the whole earth. For everyone that stealeth shall be cut off as on this side according to it, and everyone that sweareth shall be cut off as on this side according to it. So whatever it is, there's a curse involved in it. It's an evil thing it wants to curse everybody. Mark of the beast is a curse, so maybe that's the end goal. I don't know. But verse 4, I will bring it forth, saith the Lord of hosts, and it shall enter to the house of the thief, and into the house of him that sweareth falsely by my name, and it shall remain in the midst of his house, and shall consume it with the timber thereof and the stones thereof. Then the angel that talked with me went forth and said to me, Lift up now thine eyes, and see, what is this that goeth forth? And I said, What is it? And he said, This is an ephah, whatever that is, that goeth forth. He said, Moreover, this is their semblance through all the earth. And behold, there was lifted up a talent of lead, and this is a woman that sitteth in the midst of the ephah. So there's some sort of a thing that someone fits inside of, and it's flying around. Sounds like a UFO or something. And it says in verse 8, And he said, This is wickedness. And he cast it into the midst of the ephah, and he cast the weight of the lead upon the mouth thereof. Then I lifted up mine eyes, and looked, and behold, there came out 2 women. And the wind was in their wings, for they had wings like the wings of a stork. Sounds kind of like a demonic spirit with wings. And they lifted up the ephah between the earth and the heaven. Then said I to the angel that talked to me, Whither do these bear the ephah? Now watch what it says in verse 11. And he said unto me, To build it a house in the land of Shinar. That's where Babylon is. And I think a couple of weeks ago we talked about Mystery Babylon. So that ties into it too. To build it a house in the land of Shinar, and it shall be established, and set there upon her own what? Base. So whatever this thing is, this UFO has its own base. And here we are talking about UFOs in the Bible, and we're saying, oh, and the underground bases are all tied into it, and how it's all tied into some sort of a military base. And so it's just like, you don't have to go too far in your Bible to say there's something to this. Where I live, over here, on the other side of that bay right there, there's Eglin Air Force Base. And
there's bases everywhere in the States. I can't believe every 5-10 miles there's a base.
And there's people that told me they saw UFOs inside that base. So I'm just saying, out of the mouth of every 2 or 3 witnesses, let every. So if there are, where would they have learned that technology? From these fallen angel things, and they're wicked. So it ties back into demonic spirits. So go ahead, Valerie.
Well, I was going to say, you could research some of these words and could change the whole meaning. But because I don't know what ephah is. I would have to look that up.
Right.
Flying roll, I would have to look that up.
It's carpet, man. Don't you want to do carpet?
In Shinar, I have to look it up.
Here's some Here's some so-called sightings of UFOs that people have seen. And here's one that they said, oh, but it looked like this. What's that look like? A flying roll or some sort of flying log or stick or something?
Have you
So there's
seen,
people that have seen things like this. So.
The Nazis actually built that?
Yeah. I was just going to say, they don't necessarily have to come from space, per se. They could just be here.
Most UFOs, I would say 90% are stuff that we built.
There's another one.
And we're just not talking about it.
But where would we have got the idea from? The fallen angels that had the understanding how to build it would have told them, now you build this. And it all ties back to fallen angels. That's all I'm saying. And demonic spirits, right? I think we all agree on that.
70 years ago. But today, I mean, everything is so open. What are they going to reveal? I mean, there's nothing to reveal.
Well, people still think this doesn't exist because so many years the government says there's no such thing. And now people are starting to see it. So what will they reveal? Yeah, they're real. Now they just start letting them mix.
It's becoming normal. It's becoming normal. So now people are
normalized,
expected, and what do they call it? Desensitized to it.
Desensitized.
So, So when it happens, they just go, oh well, let's go with the flow.
And
whatever.
I think it was China that just came out and said that they have manipulated DNA to make designer babies. And it's now
going to be a designer Robert now.
But now it's coming out in the open so that it'll be, you can be whatever you want. You know, you're transgender. Now you can be trans alien or something. I don't know. But now these monsters can come out of the woodwork and be accepted.
Look at Snapchat. Robert, look at Snapchat. All the kids are turning themselves into monkeys.
As long as you can be like Venom or something, I don't care.
And after you're done, Valerie, I want to get into what these things look like because they're reptilian in nature.
That's the guy. That's the guy right there.
That's what you saw. But there's something about a reptilian, and that ties in with Satan. He's a dragon. He's a serpent. He's a reptile. So we can get into that
too. That's a good picture, man. That's actually better than what I could do because I don't like the gray thing. I never thought they looked like what I saw. They're very, very, very dark forest green. And they have bigger eyes than normal stuff.
Look at those eyes on that thing. Those are snake eyes. So there's some sort of snake DNA mixed with human DNA. And the devil's called that old serpent. And he's the dragon. And so it's there. It's there in the Bible.
Isn't it in Daniel? Was it Daniel 10? I'm not sure. Where it says the seed of men, they will mingle with the seed of men. That's prophesied for the end times.
Okay.
I think it's in Daniel 9 or Daniel 10. I can't remember.
Right. We'll have to look that up.
Mingle with the seed of men. And they're doing it again. It will happen again.
And isn't that the agenda of the devil from Genesis? He wants man's seed destroyed because he hates God so much. And God said, we're made in his image. He looks at us and he says, I can't even look at you because I hate God and he made you. I want to make you something different. And that's the devil's plan, is to ruin God's seed. And thank God for the spiritual seed. When we're saved, amen, we get a glorified body. Amen.
That's why I wanted to bring up that.
Yes.
Robert, can you hold up that book again? Because someone's asking what that book is.
I just looked on YouTube, and you can still get this book on YouTube, but it is expensive. It's called Matrix. It's by Vladimir Valerian, which is a pseudonym. I don't know who the real author is. But this has a lot of information, but it's like $250 on YouTube. I remember I paid $90 for this in 1990. What was it? 1992, 95, I think. So it's a cool book. There's lots of maps in here of where all the underground bases are and things like that. And there's a lot of interesting stuff. So if you got $250 to waste, go buy that on eBay. And if you have extra money, buy me the other 3. I'd like to have them. Okay. So the truth is out there. Amen. But the truth is the King James Bible. Amen. Wait a minute. Are you Scully and are you Mulder? I mean, I think this is Mulder and Scully here.
Took my glasses off.
You got Scully and Mulder right there. So what does that make me? I'm not the smoking guy, that's for sure. So
I was going to say this changing yourself. It's this new app. I don't know how new it is, but Snapchat and how kids want to change themselves into bunnies and kittens and dogs and.
I'm not familiar with that.
Snapchat? Oh, you've never had a picture with somebody's
Oh, and
has
then it turns you into
whiskers
something
and
else. Wow.
yes.
Yeah, I
So
never
that,
knew
so
that.
they're already developing that and getting children desensitized to becoming something different.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
People think it's fun, but I just look at it and go, you don't have a clue what you're doing.
Mhm.
But
I don't know.
Right.
I think I saw the end, and it was the last time that I ever had any sort of cable television or television at all. Was I only like the History Channel. I only like watching Hitler go up and go do his thing. Hitler's going to go do his thing, and that was the deal, and I liked it. And you know, I play my video game. I go to work, come home, and I'll turn on Hitler Channel, whatever. I'll watch Hitler. And then they turned it from Hitler to we can't do Hitler anymore. We have to go off into sci-fi stuff. And we're going to pretend that it's history. That's where
Mhm.
you have ancient aliens and you have all these things that are like complete garbage. Complete garbage. You can watch the Hitler channel and you can say, okay, this guy's a bad man, but he was completely run by the Catholics. You can see that in their shows. Oh, can't do that. So we're going to go off and now we're going to talk about aliens or something. And it's like, well, that's it. I'm done with television because that is
Well, I mean,
rewriting history.
it is history if it's biblical history that these things are the fallen angels. But I think they take too many liberties oftentimes in what they're saying. And their goal is evolution. They want you to believe that these aliens came from outer space and looked at this empty planet and said, boy, we ought to make something here. And so what do? Well, let's leave these two little beings that we created. So now the aliens become God and they get the glory and they get the worship. And that's not Bible.
well, I think sometimes all they're interested in is ratings, and they'll just tell people what they want to hear.
That too,
So
yeah.
it comes down to the
Sure.
dollar.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if you guys have televisions or not. I
Yep.
don't. I
I hardly ever
have a
watch cable.
television, but it only has Netflix. That's
Yes.
the only thing that I can get on my television. So
Right.
I usually just stream my own programs
Yeah.
online. But
yeah, I don't know. I mean, there has been nothing of interest at all for me to watch anything that anybody has come out with. And
well, even Netflix, Max, you have to know what you want to watch. Like,
Oh,
how
yeah.
do you search all that? Anyway, we're getting off topic.
we're
I mean-
way off topic.
When I
Okay.
lived in,
You could
when I
type
lived in,
UFO in Netflix.
when I lived in Honduras, I bought all these DVDs and watched them. And so I have all these DVDs about all this. Let me see if I can find those ones. I watched this one. It was a speaker at the Area 51. It was about abductions. David Flynn. I'm not familiar with him, but I listened to him give a speech. There's another guy, Guy Malone, Michael Heisner. They have all this every year. They have these
Mike Heisner. I know
guys
him.
come together talking about UFOs, and it's fun to watch it, but it's so sad because they cannot say that they're demonic spirits. They're that far away from understanding and then going, well, the Bible must be true, so let's get saved. But they will not go that far with it, and that's what's so sad. So it's not wrong to talk about this because in a way you can help somebody get saved because there's a lot of lost people that believe in UFOs, and if you could just say, and they're demonic spirits and the Bible's true, now come over and get saved, and they'll accept that, then that's wonderful. So that's kind of why I wanted to have this discussion. Maybe somebody's watching who's an atheist and says they believe in UFOs, but they don't believe the Bible. Well, guess what? The only way to understand UFOs is through the Bible because it tells us what they are. Amen?
Well, I hope. Where else did you say that they are in the Bible?
Well, your place that you were going to go to, Ezekiel chapter 1, was the wheels within wheels.
Right.
And that's
But I
what a
don't
lot
believe.
of...
It's a spaceship, man. That's a rocket.
I don't.
Well,
yeah,
I think
don't
that's
believe
the
it's
Lord's throne and everything. But a lot of people take that
Yes.
to say that a UFO is a disc, a wheel, with wheels inside spinning. And if you look at the people that supposedly worked on UFOs, they say we have these different wheels inside of this wheel. They turn one way, the UFO the other, things like that.
You know, it's funny.
But it's
With that explanation, if you had a basic thing that you bought off of Amazon, like a drone, it would be wheels within wheels. Okay? It's not something spectacular. it's just a drone. And maybe back in the day, there was a lot more drones that people just built themselves. I don't know.
I don't think a wheel in a wheel is something physical. So we can get into Ezekiel if you like.
Well, you're ready to go.
Yeah, I think it's God's throne, and also the old Hebrew Maseroth that means the zodiac. I don't know where to start here. Let's start actually in Genesis. Might as well start in Genesis where it says Genesis 1.
Oh man, Genesis 1. This is gonna be a long night.
Yeah.
Where it says, I think I highlighted most of the stuff. Genesis 1:14, and God said, "Let there be lights in the firmament of the heavens to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs, for seasons." Seasons are not seasons. They're not spring, summer, winter, and fall. Seasons are the feast days. That's what a season is. And it's for days and for years. Yes.
You think so? I don't know if I agree with that.
Really? They're appointed times, seasons are.
I agree with appointed times, but
okay.
I think spring, winter, fall is pretty unanimous.
Okay. We can argue on that one. Or we can disagree.
Help me understand where you're going with this. How's this tie into the topic? Because that's the planets and everything.
The Ezekiel wheels.
Okay.
Where are we going to go? We're going to go to Ezekiel 1 and 10.
Well, I had written 1, 2 through 5, and then 15 through 19, but 10 might be good too. So however you want to do it, go ahead.
I have to find Ezekiel now. Ezekiel 1. Okay.
You want me to go ahead and read it?
Maybe it's okay. Go ahead.
All right. Ezekiel chapter 1. And if you go to many of the websites and they talk about UFOs in the Bible, they always go to this one and they try to say this is a UFO. But yet in the context, it's telling you it's the throne of God and what's around it.
Yes, it is.
But Ezekiel, let's see. I think 2 through 5. In the 5th day of the month, which was the 5th year of King Jehoiakim's captivity, the word of the Lord came expressly in Ezekiel the priest. Let me skip ahead here to verse 4. And I looked, and behold, a whirlwind came out of the north, a great cloud, and a fire enfolding itself, and the brightness was about it.
Okay.
And out of the midst thereof, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yep. Verse 4. Yeah, and I looked, and behold, a whirlwind came out of the north, a great cloud, and a fire enfolding itself. And who would that be? If Brett was here, he would know.
Okay.
It's the great cloud and a fire unfolding itself. So and the brightness was about it. So that's Christ.
Okay.
His midst of it was amber, and the midst of it was fire. So that's Christ. And yes, the 4 creatures. That's what I'd like to get in on. Is the 4 creatures, and that's where the Maseroth comes in, or the zodiac.
And that's verse 5.
In old Hebrew, in order to keep time, from Genesis 1, God created the signs in the stars. So therefore, that's why you have Leo the lion, you have Pisces, you have all the constellations, and you have 12 of them. And all 12 of those are the 12 tribes of Israel. And this is the story in the stars. It's not that it's fixated on the story in the stars. But if you look at the creature, the faces and the wings, the creature, I have it written down because I knew I would never find it. I should have highlighted it. Right. The creatures, they not only are they in the Maseroth and in the zodiac, but the lion, the ox, the eagle, and the man. that relates to Moses and the tabernacle, and it also relates to the temple on earth, and it relates to the temple in heaven. And the reason why it relates to Moses and the tabernacle is because of the flags.
Valerie,
North, south, east, and west for tribes.
How many of them people are space aliens? That's what we're talking about.
I know, but see, you're thinking that Ezekiel is a UFO, but it's not. It's just telling you that it's the throne of God, and the four-headed creature, like the lion, is Judah. Man is Reuben, and I think he faces south. The ox, the eagle faces east, I think. Anyway, there's north, south, east, and west, and these animals are also in the Solomon's temple, which is 1 Kings 6:2-3, 1 Kings 7:13. It's all temple related, and it's also throne related. It's related to Daniel 7. It's related to Revelation 4, Revelation 5, as far as the animals are concerned. It all relates to the temple.
We want to talk about aliens, though.
Right. Okay, so here's what I see when you go to YouTube and you type in UFOs in the Bible. Almost always they say Ezekiel chapter 1. They call that a UFO because it comes out of the sky, and then they say, "Well, we don't know what it is." Well, you did a good job of showing what it is. I think it's the throne of God, and those are the 4 cherubims around God, and so they all have 4 different faces, and that ties into something else that I wanted to get to too.
The 4 faces. Oh, go ahead.
There's one missing. The Bible says that Satan was the anointed cherub that covereth, Ezekiel 28:14. And so at one time he would have been there too. But because he fell, now there's only 4 cherubs. And what are the faces of the cherubs? A man, a lion, an ox, and an eagle. Mm-hmm. But the one class is missing, the reptilian class. And so that's so interesting that Satan, he fell. Well, then what are all these things that are his, the fallen angels? They're all reptilian. And you look at reptiles and you look at the devil, he's called the devil, Satan, the serpent, and the dragon. A reptilian in nature. He's a serpent. So it's interesting when
you're going to David Hickey, man. You're going to David Hickey.
Oh, yeah.
We have
the
like serpent people. We have serpent people. Did you see that video clip where that guy turned? He had serpent eyes. Did you see that?
Have you seen that one where he's interviewing this guy in Africa? This what do you call those magic men or something in Africa? Did you see that one?
Oh,
that
man.
Was cool.
Yes.
I enjoyed that. And he goes, it's this black guy in Africa that's supposedly a magic. What do they call that person? There's a word for it. But he supposedly goes around and does magic and stuff. And he said that they found the body of an alien and they ate it. And he said,
he got special powers.
He says this guy took him into a pit and says, "Now eat the flesh of the alien," and it was silver. And he goes, "Now, if you don't die." It's so funny. Now, after you ate it, if you don't die, this is what's going to happen. And so, but in Africa, they believe that there is a race of reptilians, and they hide underground, and they will tell you that they've seen them. Now, you can say they're idiots and they don't know what they're talking about, and that's just a myth or a legend, or it could be true. They have seen a race of fallen creatures that the fallen angels made or something.
They don't have an iPhone out there.
Yeah, and they make up a lot of stories too. But did you see that necklace he was wearing? There was a UFO on it. There's something to all this, is all I'm saying.
Oh, yeah.
And if the Bible is true, those are demonic in nature, and they do exist, whatever they are.
Oh, yeah.
And
I would just like to conclude with.
Okay, go ahead.
If people think that Ezekiel is talking about UFOs, then they should read 1 Kings 7:13.
Okay.
And it's temple related and Mazaroth, zodiac related. And I also think it talks about in Ezekiel the 3 heavens. And because you're getting the tabernacle, you're getting the temple, and you're getting the throne of God. So I think it sort of, in a sense, is talking about 3 heavens as well.
What is the 3 heavens thing?
The 3 heavens?
Yeah. What's that?
Well, the Bible talks about 3 heavens.
Well, yes. And air and space and heaven.
Stars, and then Heaven.
Okay.
I got it somewhere.
Okay. Well, all right. Here's a. Okay, go ahead.
No, I just like, am I?
All right. Did you read first?
Which heaven am I in right now?
You're in the first one.
I don't know.
Did you read 1 Kings 7:13 yet?
No.
Okay, you brought that up, so let's go ahead and read it. And then I wanted to say something too.
Okay, I have to find it now.
All right, 1 Kings 7:13.
1 Kings 7:13.
Hey Max, there's a guy commenting named Nero.
Yep.
He's the guy that called and screamed and hollered and said dirty things about me on the phone the other day, and he's just causing problems. So if you want to shut him down, you're more than welcome. I'm praying for that guy. I hope he gets right.
Nero?
But, yeah, and whoever he is, he's causing problems. So you might want to deal with that. I don't know.
Right.
But anyway, yeah, I know who he is. And he is more than welcome to make anything he wants against me on YouTube. Help yourself. God bless you, brother. If you are a brother. Bye. All right, next. Go ahead.
He's gone.
Okay, I think it goes further than 13. And King Solomon sent and fetched Hiram and Tyre. He was a widow's son in the tribe of Nephilim, and his father was a man of Tyre, a worker in brass, and he was filled with wisdom and understanding, and cunning to work all works in brass. And he came to King Solomon and wrought all his work. For he cast 2 pillars of brass of 18 cubits high apiece, and line of 12 cubits did compass either of them about. And he made 2 chapiters of molten brass to set up atop the pillars, and height of 1 chapiter. Chapiter was 5 cubits in height, and the other was 5 cubits. And nets of checker work, wreaths of chain work, I can't say that word, which are upon the top of the pillars, 7 for one and 7 for the other. And he made the pillars in 2 rows and about upon the network to cover the chapiters that were upon the top, and pomegranates. And so did he for the other chapiter. And the chapiters that were upon the top of the pillars were of lily work in the porch, 4 cubits. And the chapiters upon the 2 pillars had pomegranates also above, over against the belly, which was by the network. And the pomegranates were 200 in rows and about. But he's talking about the temple. And he set up the pillars in the porch of the temple, and set up the right pillar, and called the name thereof Jason. And he set up the left pillar, and called his name therefore Boaz. And the top of the pillars was lily work, for the lily work of pillars finished. And he made the molten sea 10 cubits of the brim to the other. It was round all about, and his height was 5 cubits. And a line of 30 cubits did compass it around about. The under of the brim and around about their knobs compassing it, 10 in cubic, compassing the sea around about. The knobs were cast into the 2 rows, and it was cast. It stood upon 12 oxen, 3 looking forward to the north, and 3 looking forward to the west, and 3 looking forward to the south, and 3 looking forward to the east. And the sea was set above them, and all their hinder parts inward. I shouldn't have taken you up so high. And it was in that hand, breadth thick, and the brim thereof was wrought like the brim of a cup, the flowers of lilies. It contained 2,000 baths, and made 10 bases of brass for cubits, and the length of 1 base, and 4 cubits the length of the other, and 3 cubits in length of it. And the work of the bases were of the manner. They had borders, and the borders were between the ledges. And the borders that were between the ledges were lions, oxen, cherubims, and upon the ledges were the base above. Beneath the lions and oxen were certain additions made tin work. And every base had 4 brazen wheels. This is what I was getting to. I shouldn't have started so high.
Okay.
And the plates of brass in the 4 corners thereof, and undersetters under the laver were undersetters molten in the side of every addition. And the mouth of it was the sapphire and above was a cubit, and the mouth thereof was round after the work of the base, and the cubit and a half, and also on the mouth were the gravings of their borders, fourscore, not round, and under the borders were 4 wheels, and the axle trees of the wheels were joined to the base, and the height of the wheel was a cubit and half cubit. What I'm getting to is that the wheels are the same as the ones in Ezekiel, and the work of the wheels was like the work of a chariot wheel. Their axleteers and their naves and their felloes and their spokes were all molten. And there were 4 undersetters to 4 corners of one base, and it's the same vision almost, if you think about it, as Ezekiel with the 4
that's
bases.
What Brett would talk about as the using the field as an illustration, right?
Okay.
The field and gatherings and gleanings and north,
okay,
south,
yeah.
east, west.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I see where you're going with that. You're trying to tie in the 4 faces and
to the temple.
Sure.
To the temple and the wheels and all that. And the wheel within the wheel is I think it's the Mazzaroth and the throne of God.
Okay, that's an interesting theory.
I think it's a helicopter, man.
I think it's a UFO. No. I just think it's...
I'm sorry if that was dry, but I was just trying to make a point that it just sort of resembles the temple and the throne of God. Because if you go to Revelations 4 and 5 too, and Daniel 7, and First Chronicles 28, 11, 18, if anybody wants to look that up. If anybody thinks it's a UFO, I'm just saying that it's not.
Yeah, I'm joking. I don't think it's a UFO. I think it's the throne of God, and he saw a vision of God, and somehow God has all that around him and everything.
Yeah.
But so it's not an unidentified flying object to us. We know what it is. It's an identified flying object, an IFO.
Yeah, we're not arguing, but we're literally not arguing.
No, we're not arguing.
UFOs exist.
Exactly.
We are saying it's Bible-based spiritual problems. That's what it is. It's not some thing from some galaxy far away. And Star Trek, you guys like Star Trek, fine. Nothing wrong with that. It's a fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
But don't believe that that's the way that the world works. Oh, no. No.
Now, you got somewhere you want to go with this, Max, or can I say something in something else to turn us a little bit different way?
Can we get back to 3 heavens, Max? Were you serious about the 3 heavens?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Really?
No idea.
Okay.
We can talk about that.
Talk about that some other time. I mean,
yeah. We're talking about UFOs in the Bible, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I have a really quick question that comes up on chat from Pablo Valdez. He says, "Have you seen the movie The Fourth Kind?" I have not. Robert, have you seen the movie The Fourth Kind?
Is that the Close Encounters of the Fourth? No, the Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I've seen that.
It says the fourth kind.
Oh, that's with the Mila Jovovich, I think.
I have no idea.
Great. That was awful. I did not like that, but it again kind of shows you that they're demonic spirits. If I remember, if that's the one I'm thinking about, it almost looked like demonic possession type thing in that film. That was a really awful movie. There's movies that we try to discern. We don't watch movies for entertainment. We try to discern them, and I think that's one we just turned off because it's like, no, this isn't edifying. When I watch movies, it's to be edified. I want to learn something. And mostly what I watch is documentaries because most of the agenda of Hollywood is to indoctrinate with you with false teachings, and I don't want that. And I don't want to just be entertained. I want to learn something. So I think I have seen part of that.
Robert tells you to go, whatever with yourself.
No, but I would not recommend that you watch that movie. It's really scary. It almost is like demonic possession type thing.
I've never even heard of it.
I don't think you want to see that.
Never heard of it.
So what I wanted to throw out there was this. In all of the history that we go back and look into, there's UFOs. And conveniently, they're left out of our history books. When you go to a secular school, they won't talk about UFOs. Christopher Columbus, in his journal, when he's sailing to the New World, to over here, he writes in his journal, "And today I saw these flying discs go around." You go back to the guy named Constantine in 325 AD. You know, he started they call it the Catholic Church. He mixed the church with the state. Before that, I can't remember, was it 315? I can't remember the date exactly when he fought at the bridge of Milan, and he won the battle. Before he won that battle, he had a vision in heaven, and he saw in heaven this vision of something. And when you ask what it was like this round disc flying. So what I see throughout all history is that the devil is using these things to manipulate people's minds. And so I don't think UFOs are just an end time thing. I think all throughout history they have appeared unto men. This book I was telling you about has all these different places in the Middle Ages. You've heard of the Dark Ages and the Black Death, the Black Plague. Oftentimes when the Black Plague came, it came and there was 4 or 5 gigantic spinning round suns in the sky before the Black Plague came. And then after they left, that's when the people got sick and died. Almost like the devil is coming and doing these things.
Are you sure they weren't delirious?
Well, they could have been delirious too, or this could really be satanic things in history. Cicero in 106 to 43 BC said there was one night when everybody went outside and they couldn't believe it. They saw 2 suns in the sky. What was that other thing appearing? Could it have been some sort of a demonic appearance, some sort of UFO or something like that? I mean, I can't even go through all the Venerable Bede, you know, from 672 to 735 in England, the history of England. There was appearance of 4 flying huge objects that appeared to the people of England. 1290, October 2nd, 1290. This guy tells a story about a flying disc or something flying ring, he called it. In 1577, strange machines began to fly over Vienna. And I mean, I could go on and on with all this. I live very close to Gulf Breeze, Florida. And if you watch X-Files, they talk about the UFO sightings in Gulf Breeze, Florida in what, 1990 something? So these things are seen, and what are they seeing? Well, they could be drunk and they're not seeing anything. They could be seeing stars or constellations, or they could be really seeing UFOs, which are the things that the fallen angels fly in, or the demonic spirits. So if you begin to study this, you'll see all throughout history they're around. And I think that's the devil, because the Bible calls him what? The prince and power of the air. So I think that's where he flies and goes around. Or go ahead.
Well, the bigger thing is not UFOs, because UFOs, I think, largely are due to secret government projects and their things flying around the air that people don't know what they are. But when you have things about like alien abduction and people being paralyzed and getting abducted, that's a whole different ballgame.
That's the demonic things. I think they're trying to get the DNA to create their little beings, and that's why they're abducting people.
Oh man, there's going to be so many little Maxes out there. You guys are going to be in trouble.
And how can we be in trouble? How can we talk about UFOs without talking about cattle mutilation?
Man, I was going to bring that up too.
Yeah. Cattle mutilation all out west. The ranchers, they'd come out and they find their cows dead, and every drop of blood drained out of that cow. And they're like, who did this and how'd that happen?
You don't think it was satanic rituals?
No, because parts of the animal have been surgically removed that only a laser could have made that good of a cut. There's no way a knife could have made that. So I see, like I said, fallen angels or demons making themselves a little body like a gray or something and taking the blood out of those. And that happened way in the 80s. And then all of a sudden they came out and announced in the laboratory, we have figured out how to make, human blood and make it. And all the cattle mutilation stopped. So now are they making, why would they want blood? Do they drink blood? I mean, I don't know. All I know is it's quite interesting to study this in light of the Bible. The light of the life of the body is the blood. No wonder they might want it. So do fallen angels sit around in bunkers underground and drink blood? It sounds funny when you say it. It sounds like you're crazy, but in the Bible, it could be. That's all I'm saying.
Well, the first, I don't know if I should go here, but I'll be quick. The first 4 seals, the water is affected, turns to blood.
Right.
What are you going to be drinking?
Yeah.
What are you going to be drinking? They have to.
Be nothing else. Yeah.
Nope.
Someone
Okay.
brings up.
Bob, what do you got? You got blood there? That's good. All right.
Blood light.
It's like we
Blood.
have to go up top in a couple of hours here and go kill some cows. Whatever.
Well,
All
up there
right.
you can go cow tipping.
Woo.
Up where you live, go cow tipping.
Oh,
go-
absolutely. Cow
go to the
tipping was sort of a big thing. I never participated, but I heard about it.
You can go to the bar and you can order blood or blood light.
Yeah, there you go.
That's pretty good. Oh my goodness. That's a type A
Terrible.
plus humor there, right there. Well, amen.
Yeah, or be positive or
Yeah, be positive.
typo.
Well, somebody says, what are crop circles?
Yeah, that too.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people say they've been faked, but if you look at some of those, they are so in detail that it's just like, that's probably whatever these things are, marking their territory or something.
Well, that goes back to the ancient aliens thing where you have the Nazca lines. And it's like, how could these primitive people make a picture of a monkey that's so big that can only be seen from the air?
Yeah.
And it's like, because they felt like doing it. It's not that hard. It's not like something supernatural in that. And Nazca lines are one of those things that ancient aliens are going to go for. They must be signaling to the gods above. Well, they could be. They could be signaling to their god above. But it's not hard to do. It's literally not hard to do. And, things like crop circles and things like that, they're not hard to do.
They're just mathematically done.
Well,
Are they
we
not?
did it in junior high school. All right.
Oh, there you go.
We did it.
All right.
You make a grid. You've got 1,000 yards by 1,000 yards, and you make a grid and say, you're going to paint this little X box, and then this next person's going to paint this one. And it's really stupid. It's really easy. It's basically like doing it with a computer.
Oh, that brought up an idea. Okay. There's so much information in the world today. What did Daniel say in the end? He said, knowledge shall run to and fro.
Yeah.
So we are
Knowledge
really
shall
blessed.
increase. Yeah.
And we are so blessed to have all this knowledge that we can talk about these things because they're so that, but also with all that knowledge, it's very hard to know what is true and what's fake. There's a lot of people that fake chemtrails. Chemtrails. Now that's a different subject. I believe those are real. Crop circles. But then there's others they can't explain. So it's very hard to know what's right and what's wrong. So that's why we always have to remember the Bible's our authority. And what we're doing today is not dogmatically saying this is thus. We're saying there's something to that. Now, the Bible says this. And looking at it from the Bible, if that's real, and I believe that it is, but it's hard to tell which is and which isn't. There's been so many faked, UFO things. So it's hard to know which one's a real and which one's a fake one. So you can't look at every picture of UFO and say, that's real. I mean, Max, look behind you. That's real. No, it's not. It's two plates put together.
Real. It's totally real.
And that's
I think it's
the plan of the devil. It's information warfare. He wants to get you so much information that you can't figure out because you're overloaded. And I think that we need to understand that. And we need to take this, I hate to say it, but with a grain of salt. Every time you see someone says, this is UFO or this is that, just kind of go, yeah, I know those things are probably real and they're demonic in nature, but I'm not going to believe every UFO sighting I see. Right?
The big problem with that is the people that are not Christians and they go into New Age stuff. And that's where you're going to get hooked by these things.
Yeah.
Okay? And you're going to start waking up where you can't move your body anymore. And you're going to think that's normal. You think you're having a spiritual experience. No, you're under demonic attack.
Exactly.
And me, many a times, only by being involved in witchcraft. Well, that's what I call it. Paganism, whatever. Witchcraft. But
that's what you said at the beginning before we started, Max, is that these things, they're demonic, and you tied it in with the guys that go around looking for ghosts, whether that's the spirit guild people, and ghost hunters, and you said they had to invite that, just like we've looked at before. The way people get demons is they invite it in, and these aliens, they come and they ask people, invite me in, let me and it's demons and it's witchcraft, like you said. I wish you could say what you said at the beginning, how a lot of these people that say that they're oppressed by aliens and have been abducted more than one time, many of them had a background where they were into witchcraft. And so that's clearly another nail in the coffin that this alien thing is all satanic in nature. It really is.
I think the biggest nail in the coffin is if you take people who are UFOlogists, if that's a term. People who are UFOlogists, if they're Christian and they say it's demonic, then they're cast out of the little tiny sliver of science that is ufologists. They're cast out.
Yeah.
Oh, you're a Christian.
It's already iffy, but it's more iffy if a Christian says it.
Yeah.
That's the world. Yep.
Yeah, that's how it is. I don't know what I completely talked about when before we went online, but I'll say I've known a couple of people for about 20 years, maybe over that, and they are ghost hunters, and they were sort of saved when they did it. I mean, they wanted to do that to make money, and they thought it would be fun to do, and they had evil spirits tormenting them all the time. And it wasn't until, they came to Christ that all that stuff kind of went away. And they had to gradually work out. And the evil spirits were still messing with these guys.
Yeah.
And they have no bones about it. They said, these aren't ghosts. These are demons. These are stuff from the bottom of hell. That's what they say. And these are people older than me, okay, in their 50s, talking about this stuff. And that is actually, the interview is on my channel. It's not a great thing, but we just got done playing a video game, and I'm like, you guys do that? Okay, I'm going to do an interview. That's all it is. So ghost hunting, concept and wonder is what it is. But, oh, man. Those guys believe in Jesus hardcore now because they're getting messed with because of inviting evil spirits into their life. They're really getting messed with.
Did we already say this? If not, I'll just... did I interrupt you? Because it froze for a second there.
No, I'm done.
Okay, so angels in the Bible, it says that they're ministering spirits. So if fallen angels have to do with devils, what are devils? They're called unclean spirits in the Bible. So you've got that side. They're all spirits. It's a spiritual thing. And then what is a ghost? A ghost is a spirit. So either any way you look at this whole thing, these things are all unclean spirits. They're all demons. They're all demonic spirits. And that's why witchcraft, we should stay away from looking for ghosts. And we should certainly stay away from, if you ever see a UFO, here's what you do. You plead the blood of Jesus. In this book,
take a picture.
I thought it was in this book. There's some places where they interviewed people that said they saw UFOs, and one of the funniest things I read was this farmer said he saw a UFO trying to abduct his daughter. He runs outside, he sees this UFO, and these little gray aliens are trying to pull his daughter away. And he says, if you don't get out of here, I'm going to have my God blow up your spaceship. In the name of Jesus, get out of here. And the aliens went, ah! And they dropped the girl and ran away. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but knowing what I know now and what the Bible says, yeah, all you have to do is tell these aliens, no, I God, and he shed his blood for me. Get out of here because he's more powerful than you are. Amen.
Amen.
Let's throw that out there.
And stuff.
Okay. Revelation 3:20 is telling me many believe their dead loved ones return, but the Bible tells us Satan imitates them.
Yeah.
It's in the Bible that, there's a lot of discussion about this where you have Saul and Samuel, where Saul is going to the witchcraft lady and trying to conjure up Samuel. And whether that really is Samuel or whether really is not Samuel. Well, it's not, because Samuel is lying to the guy. It's not Samuel. familiar spirits. That's where that term comes from. Familiar spirits. You're not. I'm not going to listen to Gandhi. I don't know that guy. I don't care what Gandhi has to say. Talk about my uncle. Okay, my uncle. He's familiar spirit. All of the demons, all of the bad crap is going to come at you with familiarity, whatever you want to call it. Familiar is, I don't even think that's a word, but yeah, they're all going to be familiar. They're all going to be familiar. Tell me, Obama wants to come talk to me. I know Obama is still alive, but I couldn't give a crap less. I really couldn't. No, it's going to be somebody familiar to you to influence you. Yeah. And that is in the Bible with Saul and Samuel.
What verse was that in Revelation, Matt?
In Revelation?
Did you? No, sorry.
It's not in Revelation.
Where did you say it was? You know what? I can go back. Don't worry about it.
No, I don't have it up. I'm just reading comments.
I'll go back. Don't worry about it.
All right. So, Max, do you believe that these creatures just came out in the last, however many years since 47, or do you believe they've always existed and they've always interacted?
Okay. 1947 is the thing. We have nuclear power now. Therefore, aliens need to come out.
What?
They need to come out.
So you don't think
1947?
So you don't think in the Old Testament they were fallen angels and people worshiped them, and maybe they appeared to man and tried to manipulate certain places and certain governments and things like that?
Yeah, but they didn't have iPhones, so it doesn't matter.
Well, I don't think they had iPhones. They probably didn't even had UFOs, but I think that fallen angels have
any iPhones.
Gone in with men and tried to speak with them, maybe in the background, hiding somewhere, and I think they existed. And so if that's
in the Bible
the case, I just want to.
You have Legion, who had like 60 people.
Okay.
But
I'm
in there.
I'm leading up to a joke here. Help me, man.
I'm trying.
Hebrews 11:34. Okay.
All right.
This puts new light to Hebrews 11:34. It said, "Quench the violence of fire, escape the edge of the sword. Out of weakness were made strong. Wax valiance in fight, and turn to flight the armies of the aliens." So they got rid of the aliens.
Out of my country. You shall not pass.
Okay.
I'm gonna make a fence. I'm gonna make a fence for you people.
You
people with different skin color over there. You just gotta go away.
So my question is, was Joshua fighting little gray men when he went in and took over the promised land?
Obviously.
With 4 fingers. Obviously, he put to flight the army of the aliens, so he must.
Mickey Mouse had 4 fingers.
Yeah. Cartoons. Most cartoons only have 4 fingers.
4 fingers.
That's so weird.
It's so funny. Weird. Giants have 6 fingers and 6 toes.
Yeah.
And people like Oprah Winfrey have 6 fingers and toes. That's all the biggest people out there. They get 6 fingers and toes.
How odd.
That's one of those.
Well, so what do you think? Have we covered this thoroughly?
I think we covered it well enough to have a good time, and we should probably just do go through and cover any questions or anything like that, and have our good time. We are going to probably be off for a couple of weeks. I'll still be doing my thing. Robert's got some things to do. I don't know about Valerie, but
I'm working.
It's fun to have a discussion that's not so serious for the most part. Right. We're just doing our stuff. And
well, to me, it was fun to talk about this because no one wants to talk about it. The fact that you wanted to, it's like, yay!
Well,
but I hope people don't misunderstand and then say those crazy conspiracy theories. Oh. No, we're just showing this is what the Bible says. So if those things are real, they've got to be demonic spirits, and just leave it at that. The thing that I've seen that's kind of sad to me is that people catch on to something like this, and then that becomes their whole ministry. They get so, I don't want to use the word infatuated, but they get so into that's all they want to talk about. Yeah. It's like, no, there's other things to talk about than this. But
come on, Robert. You know you're going to be late night with George Norrie.
Hey, you can call me and I'll go on. You know, I hope they record at like 11 in the morning though, because I'd hate to stay up all night to talk. I guess they don't, but anyway.
All right. I'll look through questions here, and we got about 20 seconds, and I think then we'll call it. Seeing the movie Fourth Kind, we talked about that. I'll have to look at it now because you hate it so much.
The movie Signs was pretty interesting. If you ever saw Signs?
I like Signs. That was the Mel Gibson one.
That was an old one.
Yeah, and it wasn't. I hated the ending, and I don't like Shyamalan. He makes bad movies, so that's how it goes. Yeah, M. Night Shyamalan. It's a twist. I got a twist. It's like, come on, dude. Stop it. Movie Signs, got that one. That's all I got for me, maybe. Return to the Bible, we talked about that. So, Revelation 20. If you ever do live yourself, I'd love to join you on Google Hangouts. Revelation 3:20. Send me an email. And then I will send you an email back, and we can do a Google Hangout. That's fine.
That's how I got started.
Yeah, that's how we do things around here.
It's great.
I can't put it up in like chat because I'll have every troll on the planet on my thing.
And that's the aliens too.
And the aliens, man. And the aliens going
to Max Bauer channel.
That's how it is. All right.
That's your pizza, isn't it, Max? That's your dinner.
I wish I had a pizza. I'm kind of hungry now. I'm going to get chicken wings or something. I'm going to eat that. And have fun. So, all right. You got anything there, Robert, Valerie? You guys got
I don't see any questions, so I guess that's good.
Yeah, there you go.
I was afraid they'd come up with some left field, but I think this was so left field, this whole subject, that people are just like,
No, I think it's great. I think it's great. I mean, we've got like 40 people watching, 40 to 50 throughout the entire thing, and that's pretty good. Yeah. And, you know, people are interested, so.
I think you either believe it. You either believe it or you don't. So I'm sure everybody has their own theories, but I just think that they're either demonic or they're military type of things. But then again, the demonic part of it, I think is going to increase, and I think people are going to think that they're aliens. It's just going that way.
Oh yeah, that's the biggest thing. Is that the biggest thing that everybody has been preaching is the government is going to fake a false flag attack from alien.
Blue Project?
And that will be the takeover of the entire world. Is the entire world needs to come together because we have aliens from another planet attacking us. That has been the standard theory for 10 years.
Yeah.
That's what they say. But if aliens don't exist, then what do you got? Yeah. You're under attack from demons.
Right.
That's what you are.
Pretending to be aliens. Yeah.
Have you heard about Blue Project?
We didn't even get to Project Blue Book. We didn't even get to that, and MJ12 and all these other things we could have gotten into. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
maybe another night.
We can do it again sometime.
Oh, about 20 minutes. Just go get something to eat and come back.
Now let's talk about this more. I think we've talked about this enough. I mean,
we've got it covered. If nobody else has any questions up there,
somebody's asking me a question, but I don't know if I want to answer or not. No. Someone's asking about January 22nd. I don't.
What is January?
Should I just briefly state that or not?
I don't know what January 22nd means.
Uh-oh. Was he raptured, Max?
I guess he got raptured.
Okay. It froze up on me for a second.
Yeah, we're losing you.
Someone was asking me about about January 22nd, and I'm like, I won't deal with that. So go ahead.
Now you have us all curious, though.
Yeah, I don't even know what the hell it is.
Oh, okay. All right. So here's the thing, okay? The people are still going back to September 23rd, 2017, and saying that's something.
Oh, there
and I think Valerie.
Yes, the 70s.
Valerie thinks that too, that the stars are put there, so maybe it means something. Well, here's the latest theory on that. Are you ready?
That's right.
All right.
The 70 weeks in Daniel's is only weeks, not years. And so let's take 70 weeks from September 23rd. It comes out to January 22nd or something.
I've heard that.
I don't know. All I know is I just can't believe we're still here. I mean, I want to get out of this world, because what this world is doing is it's forming a world in which Christians aren't.
No.
Well, so if they keep doing what they're doing, there's going to be no place for us.
Absolutely.
So it's either rapture or, and they hate us. And that's what the demons are doing. They're trying to take over to get rid of people like us.
Or you come to Canada and
the sooner Jesus comes, the better. That's all I'm saying.
You find a little cabin in the woods and just isolate yourself.
Well, first you need $40,000 to buy the property.
Yep. Yes, you need to have the body of Christ buy you the property.
Okay.
Otherwise,
exactly.
Wow.
And then you build a fence because they're not invited, correct?
Exactly.
Now we're just getting peeled off. Okay.
But you know what? I just want to say that Hanukkah is not a feast day, so I don't know. A lot of people.
It's called,
you know what?
It's called the Feast of Dedication.
It is, but
in the Bible, Jesus
it's
kept the feast like that. So, but it's not one of the seven. So, could it be a hidden feast, and the rapture is like hidden? I don't know. There's so many questions about that.
It's not one of. It's not.
But we're in Hanukkah now. So.
I know, but it's not one of God's appointed feasts. It's a traditional, feast.
Yeah, happy Hanukkah.
Yeah, but anyway. That's another subject. We can talk about that later.
I can't wait for the Lord to come back. That's all I'm saying. Because then we're out of here. So sooner the better.
Yes,
but
we're gonna do that. We all need food. So
okay.
Happy Hanukkah, everybody. My trash didn't come for like a day late because apparently there must be a Jewish company. I don't know. Happy Hanukkah, and off we go into the Christmas season. Hope you like the UFOs and strange things discussion and just having a good time. And that's what this channel is all about, having a good time. Sometimes I might poke you in the eye, but for the most part, I'm a pretty good guy. So that's what we have. And with that, we are going to be out of here.